Happy Sunday and happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. Again, all of you guys that are celebrating with your dads or your husbands, however you guys have done it today. I hope you guys had a great day, an amazing day with the family. I'm sure Nevadabuck did as well. A little late tonight because of the U.S. Open, which was absolutely spectacular. Even if you guys aren't golf fans, I know how you can't watch that kind of drama. It was amazing. So we're gonna get right into this thing. Official visits are wrapping up. But as always, again, we are marching to 40,000 YouTube subscribers, and we've had a huge uptick in new subs thanks to you guys. Again, I know I say every night, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. But we're racing to 40,000. Again, post it to your Facebook, post it to your Twitter. All you do is our YouTube channel is super easy to copy and paste and say, hey, the best Ohio State content in existence is free. It's here. We go every night, even Father's Day Eve, because we love what we do and we love seeing you guys in the chat. But we just appreciate you guys so much that have been heeding that call. Also, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. We've been growing both of those in a dramatic way over the last 2 weeks. So we appreciate you guys heeding our efforts as always. And we're going to get into some big official visit stuff. There's one more weekend left, and then these coaches can see a little bit of vacation time before they get into the grind that is the season. Guys, it's almost here. July 31st. It's going to be cranked up. Camp's coming. I mean, this is going to fly by. And we're going to give you all of the details as to what went on this weekend in official visits and what to expect this week in camp. As always, with a very proud father, my good friend at Nevadabuck, Nevada. How did you spend your Father's Day? Was it spectacular?
It was amazing. And yeah, that US Open, wow. That was something else. I am a golf fan, so but I wouldn't watch just a regular, I wouldn't sit through 4 days of watching just a regular tournament, but a major like that and see, Ryan Spahn, the San Diego State boy, win his first tournament, wins, it's a major, wins the US Open, and drains a 67-foot putt on the 18th hole to do it. I mean, it was absolutely great drama. Why we love sports for sure. So we apologize for being a little bit late, and I echo what Kirk said about subscribe. Look, there's that little subscribe button. It's free. Hit that. We are racing towards 40,000 subscribers, which is quite the milestone. We will have quite the 40,000 subscriber show planned when we get there. But help us get there, and yeah, thanks for being part of the show and thanks for making it so special.
Yeah, in Nevada, another big official visit weekend wrapped up. I always feel like on a day like Father's Day that the coaches hope that these guys don't want to hang around so they can get out of there and they can get back with their families for a little bit. And it seemed like that was the case. Again, they want to give everybody time, but man, on Father's Day, it's like you want to spend time with your kids and your wife and go do whatever activities you'd like to do. Go out to dinner, cook a nice dinner, hang out, in the backyard, whatever. But they had some studs here. I mean, Carter Meadows is a guy that I really like. He's a 5-star defensive end, 6'6". I love the length of the arms, the speed. He's a sack merchant, the kind of guy that we really need to refresh the defensive end position. He was in town today. Slew of other guys. Again, there's I believe one more summer official visit, and then they cut it off because, like I said, these coaches they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel is when the last kid leaves next Sunday, and then all of a sudden they might have a day or two to recap in office, and then they're out. I mean, the coaches they're on the first thing smoking on. They're on vacation for 2-3 weeks to go take their kids to Tahiti or Bora Bora or Outer Banks, wherever they're gonna go. But it's like the last hurrah before the grind truly begins. But what were some of your impressions on some of the kids that visited this weekend and some of the stuff that went on at camp this week?
Well, I mean, it was a heavy defense. It was, you mentioned Carter Meadows, a guy that Larry Johnson really wants, kind of in a four-way race. I think the other visits are, I guess he's got Michigan. I think he's done South Carolina and Penn State. So, South Carolina is always a wild card considering, what's happened there in recent past for the other defensive line recruits. So you never can count those guys out. But Ohio State feels like they did really well. Now Ohio State feels like they put together a super competitive NIL package and really kind of hitting all the high notes with Carter Meadows. I think they came in with reasonable expectations, coming to this weekend. But I think they left with certainly with heightened ones. Going to be a dogfight to the end with him. Obviously, he's a kid that a lot of people are going to be throwing the bag at, and Ohio State. It feels like they've, their recent history with, they're just coming out of a draft where all four of their defensive linemen just got drafted, which is pretty rare for any school, certainly for Ohio State. And they feel like they put it, they took a big step forward with them, so that was good. Obviously you've got um, you got JJ Perez, the big defensive lineman. You got Sincere Johnson, the linebacker. You got PJ Dean, the big defensive lineman. I guess he could play on either side. He could play defensive line. He could play offensive line out of North Carolina. So, I mean, I feel like it's been interesting because sometimes the recruits come in and it's all offensive guys. Sometimes they come in and it's one side of the ball, the other. But for all the complaints that we've had about the defensive recruiting, in general, the defensive line recruiting in particular, I feel like we really made some inroads, this week specifically on the defensive line. Larry Johnson doing work. Matt Patricia has been particularly impressive on these official visits. He's just he's a guy that Ohio State's never had before. I mean, a guy with the true NFL credentials, the guy with multiple Super Bowl rings. We've talked about how he's been an NFL offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, NFL head coach, and he's just a super intelligent guy. Or whatever. Think about the most intelligent guy that you've ever met in college coaching, and this is that guy. And Matt is an absolute student of the game. Completely, understands all the nuance of engineering, great defensive football, and he's able to lay it out for people in a really understandable way, which is rare with smart people. A lot of times, smart people try to talk over other people, or they talk in code, or they talk in ways that they're not really communicating with lesser mortals. But Matt Patricia, no, he brings it right down to the level that he needs to, and that's consistently the feedback that I'm getting from parents, from mentors, from agents. That Matt's really making a connection, above and beyond our great set of defensive position coaches, and obviously Ryan Day, who's incredibly impressive. Matt Patricia has really been a guy that's been kind of the glue, bringing all this stuff together, laying out all the plans. He's the guy that kind of laying out all the plans on how they plan to deploy them, where they see them fitting in the defense, and how they can best kind of succeed at Ohio State. And Matt's on it too that he's going to be there for a long time too, which is really interesting because we've always thought that maybe Matt was just like a visitor to the college ranks and visitor to Ohio State. He's telling these guys he loves college coaching, wants to be here for a while, wants to coach them all the way through their collegiate career. So we'll see how that resonates with people.
Yeah, I think that Matt Patricia, it's unique when you've had the experiences he's had where he's coached guys like Darrelle Revis, and he's coached Aqib Talib, and he's coached Chandler Jones. I mean, he's coached like Junior Seau, who might be the best middle linebacker who's ever lived. I mean, he's coached guys they're not just good players. I mean, they're literally they might be on the NFL all time team. You talk about Revis, you talk about Junior Seau. I mean, so Vince Wilfork. If there's a body type, or you look at JJ Perez from Glenville, who's a big nose guard type of guy. So yeah, coach. I mean, he's not the same as Vince, because Vince was a little shorter and a little heavier. But I mean, when you're looking for a guy, it's always impressive to me when you hear them talk about who they've coached and kind of what they did to help their game, and how this is how we changed what Darrelle Revis did. And obviously, when they had Darrelle Revis, he was maybe the best player in the NFL. He was right in the middle of Revis Island, and he was incredible. And then he had Aqib Talib, who was a much different player, and not quite as effective as Revis, but he was an excellent guy. So it's funny when you get a guy into recruiting, because I didn't have I was 3 years in the NFL, draft pick and the whole nine, but kids love the NFL stuff. They love hearing the stories about guys that you've played with. Like I played with Patrick Willis, who's in the Hall of Fame. I played with Calvin Johnson, who's in the Hall of Fame. Champ Bailey, Brian Dawkins, Hall of Fame. Urlacher, Hall of Fame. So, just because, whatever, like when you watch some of these guys work, I mean, it's incredible. And you watch some of the things that they do that make them great. It's great to observe it. And then when you're Matt Patricia, who's a coordinator and a head coach, and he's, directly responsible for making guys better and accentuating stuff. And again, one of my favorite stories ever from one of the podcasts that he did is where he talked about how Junior Seau played like 20 years in the NFL, and he came out of retirement to play for the Patriots like one last year, and he missed a couple of tackles, and Bill Belichick made him go practice tackling after like a practice where they didn't even have shoulder pads on. So I mean, he made him bring his shoulder pads out to the stadium, and they got Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, who's like a third string running back, to run some drills versus Junior. And Junior is like literally the all time leading tackler in the NFL. He was that proficient, and they made him practice tackling. So again, little like anecdotes like that are fascinating, just because kids love hearing stuff like that. They love hearing about guys that were exceptional at their positions, and how they remind you of certain guys, and how we can help mold you, and this is what you can do. And that's something that Matt Patricia has. It's a huge edge, because again, it's great as it is to talk about Ohio State players, and it is. Obviously, we're going to talk about some of the recent incredible successes we've had at basically every position. It's a different level when you're talking about an NFL Hall of Famer. As great as our guys have been, like, I mean, an NFL Hall of Famer is at the very top of the food chain, and he's got that in spades. So, but this was a good weekend. They had the three of the committed O-line guys in. We had Max and Sam, and also Tucker Smith. So, Max Riley and Sam Greer are two bookends. Max will probably play inside. Sam's pure tackle. But it's good to bring those guys in together. I think that that's something that Tyler Bone was shrewd about, because you want to start building chemistry between those guys, because they have to, carry load in the class. And you want those guys to take visits together if they can, because you're going to need them to recruit to finish this class out. If there's a couple of big time tackles that are left nationally, it's not bad if you are Tyler Bowen and you get Marcus Johnson and Charlie Dickey and Ryan Day and Mark Piantoni, Brian Hartline all together, and say, hey, we need you guys to recruit. Because a lot of times the coaches are great recruiters, but your players can be very helpful. I mean, there's no restriction on how much a kid can contact them. So when there's a dead period, that does not apply to a player. A player can call and text and DM and FaceTime and do whatever as much as they want to. And I think that that's important. And again, if I'm some of these young kids, and again, you might say, Kirk, that's crazy, but if you're helpful in recruiting and you're trying to get on the field and you're trying to make a good first impression, like, do everything you can to help land some of these guys. Now, again, they're not going to write an NIL check, and some of these kids are going to go wherever they're going to go. But I always thought it didn't hurt to help as much as possible. And, again, there's the old adage in a football building, the more you can do. And that applies to coaches, GAs, strength coaches, players, trainers. The more proficient you are, the more things you can do, the more value you have, the more favorable you're viewed in the building. So again, you try to help everyone as much as you can, because that ends up getting back to the right people, and it's good. Like, again, I think that being a team player is important. CJ Sama, who's an old TNG kid, was there. He's going to be a stud. I'm super excited about him as a big Mike linebacker. But yeah, as we keep rolling into this thing, and the board gets shortened, and we've got, Sincere was here. Obviously, he's a kid that he's going to be a Buckeye. I mean, I'd be beyond stunned if Ted Ginn Ted Ginn Senior let a Glenville kid go somewhere other than Ohio State at this point. They had that option, because I've seen too many issues where kids have gone elsewhere, man, and like Andre Walker and Cordell Scott and some of these guys. Cordell Scott went to Illinois, and it's just such a terrible move. It just doesn't end up working out well, especially when you're an Ohio-based kid. So I think that we're gonna get JJ, we'll get Sincere, and that pipeline's fun. And they got some good young players too. So Nevada, as we get into this last week, they've got, I think, maybe one camp day left and maybe one 7-on-7 day left, and then they've got this last batch of officials. How are you feeling about this class so far? Because I think that there's a lot of really good stuff that's about to pop over the next month, before 2 days, not 2 days, but practice starts for the high school kids. They don't have 2 days anymore. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we're in kind of the midst of these, back to back to back, monster recruiting weekends. The next weekend, you talk about, bringing in the committed guys. Next weekend's kind of the wide receiver reunion, where you've got Chris Henry Jr., Caden Dixon Wyatt, and Brock Boyd all coming in together, which is quite a formidable trio of guys. You've got Deuce Gerald's that big defensive lineman out. That Ohio State's really feels like they're probably in the driver's seat right now. Um, Braylon Womack, the 5-star safety who we've kind of penciled into the class. Derek Cooper, the big 5-star running back out of Florida. So I mean, look, it's for Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, things couldn't be going better. It's hard. You and I just kind of laugh when we go through all these lists of the kids, and we're like, this kid's committing on the 19th, this kid's committing on the 26th. What about this kid here? And it's just like Ohio State's in on so many players right now. We're not Michigan where we've only got one guy that's a top 100 kid that we're in on or something. I mean, we're just every one of these kids are so highly rated. Um, it's almost an embarrassment of riches. And I've always thought that the key to success in college football was being able to lay uh, not competitive, but the exceptional classes back to back to back. If you can lay three in a row in terms of that, then you have no interruption, you have no dips. Now, this was prior to the transfer portal, where you can fill a lot of needs in the transfer portal, in short order, as we did, certainly with the last year. Probably the reason we win the national championship last year was our ability to fill via the portal. This year made some key portal additions as well, but no, I think this class is going to be a absolutely fantastic class. Where will it rank? It just it's hard to say with some of the rating services are by average star rating, some are by number of points, which really skews heavily towards the teams that are taking a ton of recruits in the cycle. um but it's clearly a top 5 class, probably a top 3 class. Going to be another just absolutely fantastic one for Ohio State, and specifically on the defensive side of the ball. I think as good as the offensive side's been, I think this is going to be a terrific defensive class for Ohio State, and certainly one that sets themselves up for the 27, 28, 29 grind and beyond, because it's really a good foundational piece for sure.
Yeah, something that I've said a million times, and I know you probably agree with me on this, but I always have to add the transfers into the class. And then that's, to me, that's the full composite grade of everything. When you add your transfer portal additions plus your high school additions, because I just think that what if we miss on something, like if we don't get we don't get a position, or we're weak somewhere or whatever. You got to assume that half this class that we sign is going to transfer, or at least a third. I'd say between 35% and 50% of the class is going to transfer out. And then you're going to backfill with a lot of really good players. Like, yeah, I would always submit that it would be interesting, and I know this would be way too much work for anyone to ever do, but like if you regrade classes after you see kind of the final meta of kids, because again, everyone lost their minds when Caleb Downs went to Alabama, but a year later he's a Buckeye. So if you go back and add him to the class, and Will Howard and the way he emerged, and Quinshon Judkins, and so I don't know. And again, I know that's it's tough to do, especially when we have a guy for 1 year or 2 years or whatever. Your Max Clare, woefully underrated coming out of high school. He's a 5-star all day now. But where do you stand on that? Because as much as people get upset about losing a high school kid, I'm like, look, guys, like for every kid that is dumb enough to turn down this opportunity, like we're going to get a really good player, a good transfer portal kid, a kid that's a backfill guy. Again, like we had Justin Terry from Pickerington, from West Virginia, and I thought Mark Pantoni and Ryan Day and Tyler Bowen, like them backfilling the offensive line room after we lost George Fitzpatrick, we lost Zen Mikulski. You got to get some tackles in there, and they went out and got a couple of them, and they got to backfill that room a little bit and get some bodies, and I think that that's important. And the thing about being the Goliath and being Ohio State is that if you miss on a kid from Pickerington and he goes to West Virginia, if he ever does decide to go to the portal, and you offer him a decent NIL deal, nothing enormous or anything, then you can always get him back. Same with Philip Daniels. I mean, Philip Daniels is a kid that we didn't take. We probably could have taken him, and people would have been excited about him, but goes to Minnesota, starts a couple games, 4 games or whatever last year, and then we end up getting him here. And he's a kid that'll be right in the mix to start at right tackle along with Austin Sauerveld. But I don't know. I just think that I don't want to say it's not over till the fat lady sings, but it's just funny how like some of these kids end up bouncing back to here. and they end up making these incredible impacts. And some of them are guys that, frankly, if we would have gotten them coming out of high school, people would have put their nose up. I mean, like Quinshon Judkins was a 3-star kid from Pike Road, and if we would have taken him out of high school, I think people would have been upset about it. And same with Will Howard, 3-star kid that Penn State passed on, everyone passed on. Then he leads us to a national championship. Like, what's your thought on kind of combining the recruiting class rankings, which again, that's great, but back pre-portal, man, that was kind of the be all end all when there wasn't the fluidity of the roster. But what's your thoughts on, again, I don't know what the right word is, if it's a composite grade of the transfer portal class plus the recruiting class plus the overall output, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the recruiting class has to include portal kids. It just has to, um, because they're kids you're recruiting. They're different types of kids. It's a different type of recruiting, but it's recruiting just the same, and it's filling your needs. Just doing it on a little bit of more short-term basis. But let me add a couple of corollaries off that where I think Ohio State's been particularly good. The first one is not having mass attrition yourself in the portal. I mean, Ohio State's done an exceptional job of keeping their core together, of not, having mass exoduses, of players out the door via the port. I mean, we lose players, but it's generally not guys that are in line for playing time. It's generally not guys at key spots. We're not losing Caleb Downs like Alabama lost Caleb Downs. I understand it's kind of an exceptional situation where they had a head coaching change and stuff, but we haven't had mass attrition in the portal, and I think that's as important as who you get is who you keep and how you keep your teams together. And unsung things like keeping Lincoln Keenholz around this year, despite Julian Sayin kind of ascending to the number one spot. Those are underrated pieces for Ohio State. And the second thing is the way that Ohio State's played NIL. Because obviously a big part of bringing in any kid via the transfer portal is what type of deal you're doing with the NIL. And I think Ohio State has been absolutely elegant with the way that they're handling NIL. Unlike, I'll draw a line between them and say it, Oregon, where Oregon is getting players in the transfer portal without no question, getting players out of the transfer portal, getting players out of high school, but they're literally throwing the bag, and it is causing all sorts of problems. And I hear this over and over again from the agents where they're like, well, this guy said this and this guy then got that and this caused this problem. And I'm telling you, as many players as Oregon is getting, they're creating cultural divides within their locker room right now, and it's going to be a problem. So I think Ohio State has really threaded the needle of filling their needs, get enough high school players while still getting enough, key mercenaries, if you want to call it, in terms of transfer portal guys, but without breaking the bank and not alienating everybody else in the room by going out and overpricing the market or panic buying or doing anything else that would cause disarray on their existing roster. And I think that, to me, that's been really the most impressive thing about the way that Ohio State has handled this new world order of NIL. Is they're doing it. They're doing it right. They're doing it responsibly, and I think that's really a big part of why they're winning.
Yeah, and I think that that's a fantastic point by you. The fact that you've seen teams just go out and say, "Well, let's just build an all-star team." Let's like again, A&M was the prime example where they were just spending like drunken sailors, and that class all ended up like going. I mean, Shamar Stewart might be the only guy that actually stayed, but like Walter Nolan went to Ole Miss, and they had the Adele went to Michigan State, and I think he hit the portal again. He's a total bust, but it's I mean, you're gonna make your own, pitfalls if you bring in the wrong kids, especially if you. And again, I think somewhere where Ohio State has been excellent about self-correcting is that they've really done hard evaluations on these kids. I mean, we haven't seen the Victor Cutlers and the oh God, I'm gonna blank. I can see the kid's face. The safety Jihad Carter, or whatever his name was, the safety from Syracuse that we took who never played, and now he got hurt now, but I don't think he was good enough to play anyways because when he was healthy, he didn't play. So we've really kind of weeded out taking those kids, and now it's like you're either going to be a bit, you're either in the bucket of instant starter, humongous impact, like the Caleb Downs, like Josh Simmons, like Will Howard, like Quinshon, or you're Ohio kid that wants to be that wants, Justin Terry kid is a project, backfill the roster. But yeah, like I just, the mindset that, hey, we're not going to give you the most amount of money, but if you show up here and you play and you ball out, you will get paid. And again, I know exactly how much Jeremiah is making this year. I know how much Caleb Downs is making this year. Our guys are getting paid. There's no shortage of money at Ohio State right now, I promise you. And JJ is only going to make more as he becomes. I'm sure he'll do the Dr. Pepper commercial, and he'll pick up all these big deals, cover of EA Sports and everything else. But I think that it's important to pay guys for production. And again, this is coming from, Kirk. If I was playing at Ohio State in the olden days, and I was a third year guy and had started since my freshman year, and or my redshirt freshman year, excuse me, and I got 30 career starts going into my third or fourth or fifth year or whatever. Like, I feel like I should get paid, especially since I wasn't just out there playing, because I always tell people, there's a difference between being on the team, playing, and playing well, because I played well. And again, I'm just saying, and again, like all Big Ten. I mean, like I said, I would have been 2-time All Big Ten if we didn't have the greatest tackle class of all time in 2006, when we had Joe Thomas, who went third in the draft, is in the Hall of Fame. Jake Long went first overall. Levi Brown went fifth overall. And then Marshall Yonda, who I was second team All Big Ten with, is a fringe Hall of Famer. So that was like the greatest era ever for a composite offensive tackle list of Big Ten players. And again, I'm not mad about it, but it's like, sometimes the years are different when you don't have a bunch of top 5 picks as all the tackles that you're competing against for rewards. But I tell these guys, I'm like, look, as long as you just keep your head down, you do the right thing, you're not a problem child, you go to class and you play well, you're going to get paid. And again, I didn't have NIL, but like I do great now, and there's no question about it. And I and that's the thing I always stress to these kids about Ohio State is I'm like, look, if you're an Ohio kid and you do right by the program, and you get a good degree, like you're going to be in good shape. Like, I mean, I don't know what level, because that depends upon your talent, your work ethic. And I always tell the guys, get a good degree. Don't let them sign you up for some whatever degree, because you guys all know the majors that aren't quite as great as learning numbers. But that was always the thing I professed. But I think that the way that we manage the NIL is incredible, and nobody can question, well, why is Jeremiah Smith getting this much money? Because he's the most valuable player in the entire country at this point. So, I mean, no one's going to be like upset that he gets, and honestly, what he gets, I think, is actually like, almost, I don't want to say it's discounted, but compared to what he's worth, like it's the deal of the century to me. And same with Caleb Downs. So, we got a bunch of super chats, Nevada. Any thoughts on any of that before we dig into a bunch of these?
No, I think, with Ohio State, we always give it to you guys straight on the show, and we'll tell you when Ohio State's doing stuff wrong, and we'll tell you the stuff that they need to improve. And I think when Ohio State first got into NIL, they were, they were not sure exactly what to do, but boy, did they become fast learners. Boy, did they really, kind of figure out quickly that there was going to be a salary cap, and that they needed to have strong guidelines and strong, internal compass on this stuff. Because the worst thing you could do is lose financial discipline, start throwing money at somebody because you're desperate to get that next player, and that's just not been their attitude. Their attitude has been, we're going to submit competitive NIL bids to you. If you're good, you're going to get, like you mentioned, outside opportunities like JJ Smith's getting. He's going to get all those and more because he's worth it, and you get what you deserve. But they're not going to break the bank to bring any kid in, and I just think that is the right attitude to have in 2025, and really something that Ohio State really does very, very well.
And honestly, like, one thing I'll commend them on, and again, this isn't a bad thing, is that they also have the discipline of letting guys walk. Because I know what some of these guys got in the market, especially these last 2 transfer portals. Like, I mean, some of these backups we had got paid like a ton of money, and in Ohio State probably would have offered them 20% of what they got. And frankly, I don't think they're NFL players. So this might be their last payday. So again, like, when you're Mark Pantoni and Ryan Day and some of these coaches, and, a guy says, hey, I got offered this, in the portal, whatever, like, I'd be like, have fun, pack your bags, and good luck to you. I hope you stay healthy. I hope you enjoy the rest of your career and have at it. Cause that's important. Cause again, like, you you can't keep everybody. Again, I think that's, the most underrated thing about Matt Patricia is that, dude, he was in the league for a long time, and he worked for the most prudent organization in the history of sports in the New England Patriots. I mean, there isn't a team on earth that would get rid of guys before they started to fall down the cliff, or before they needed that next big payday. Almost to, in my opinion, a detriment. I mean, they would trade Randy Moss right before he hit his decline. They trade they wouldn't re-sign Will Fork. They traded Richard Seymour, who's a Hall of Famer, to the Raiders for 2 first-round picks. And Seymour's probably going to make $15 million 15 years ago, a year. I mean, he was the best 3-4 defensive end in the league, and they just traded him right before the season started. So again, I'm not saying any of the guys we left are on that level, but there is something to keeping your mind straight and making sure that you you don't overspend because of sentimental value, I guess, because you might have the greatest kid in the world, and he might say, "Hey, I'm getting this amount of money from this school, and they want to give me $750,000, whatever, and you guys only want to give me $150,000. Like, can we meet somewhere in the middle?" And I think that Pantoni's been great about saying no, so letting guys walk, because he's got to be true to his numbers, and he's got to be. You don't want to, like, every time you pay somebody who might not deserve it, all of a sudden, man, it's like that next ripple of guys are going to come walking into that office, and their dads are going to be coming, the agent's going to be calling, and so it's so delicate, and that's why Mark's getting paid so much. And Mark's making $1 million a year now. When he was, when he started at Ohio State, he was making like $150,000, 15 or 12 years ago, whatever it was. I mean, his salary's gone up 9x because his job is 10 times harder than it was when he showed up. So again, these negotiations are very, very fragile. And the biggest thing is these agents all talk too. So, I mean, there's no hiding just because the contracts aren't public like the NFL. Like, these agents all talk to each other to see what guys are getting. All right, let's get into some super chats. Again, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys are having a great Father's Day, and thanks for joining us as well. But before we do this, I just want to say huge compliments to Devin and Funky. They had a huge episode yesterday. They filled in for us at 7. They are killing it. Devin, he's a huge part of what we do, as long with Mello and the Buckeye boys. Funky is the hardest working recruiting guy in the gig, because again, you can check the receipts and see who worked today. Funky's working today. They're not all working today, but Funky is, and he's digging for information, and he's a superstar in this profession. So I just want to say that real quick, because again, if you guys want recruiting coverage and you want people that don't take days off on a recruiting weekend, you better join BuckeyeScoop.com, because it ain't all like that. Nevada, any thoughts before we get into these super chats?
No, it's we have an amazing say. It's funny how you kind of set out to do something, and you hope you get the right people, and we've just been so fortunate with just so many great people working here, being part of our website, being part of our podcast and our YouTube network. So very, very fortunate to have the folks we do, and we thank all of them.
Yeah, and we got, obviously Bill Greene is he's like the godfather of recruiting, South Florida recruiting especially. I mean, our recruiting staff is crazy right now. And again, they're like piranhas right now, looking for information on next commitments and intel. And again, Devin's leading the charge as well with Buckeye Boys. So again, I just want to give you guys a quick shout out. Make sure you guys follow Buckeye Boys YouTube channel, and check that episode out yesterday. It was outstanding. They went in our 7 o'clock spot, and they really crushed it. So make sure you guys check that out. RJ, the Pink Floyd piano cover artist. While I'm telling you guys to follow YouTube channels, make sure you go follow RJ's, because he's on here every night. And if you guys like Floyd and Dark Side of the Moon, and you like Another Brick in the Wall, which is one of my favorite songs ever, he's got an excellent cover of that on YouTube. So make sure you guys check that out. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 5. It says, happy Father's Day to Kirk, Nevada, and all dads on the stream. Nevada, any thoughts?
Yeah, appreciate it. Special day. Like I said, I got 5 kids, so got a lot of dad energy going on here. I know you've got a brood of kids as well, and special day. It's nice having that one day when you can just like do whatever you want to do and do whatever it is. So yeah, we get the dad's rule today, so we get to call the shots. We go back to the bottom of the bus tomorrow, but for today we rule.
That is so true. I mean, so what did you do today? Because again, this is like the one day where they can't deny. It's kind of like a birthday, except it's for everyone at the same time. So what did your day consist of?
Yeah, no, I got to pick the lunch place, which is always kind of nice. And then I wanted to watch the U.S. Open, but my daughter, on top that she booked us the golf simulator, so we went for an hour to the club and hit balls into the golf simulator while watching the PGA while eating and drinking. So I mean, and then I went back home, watched the end of the U.S. Open, and now I'm podcasting. So it's like I swam. It's almost kind of a perfect day.
Yeah, and there's no NHL or NBA game on right now either, which is even better because then you're not really even missing anything going at 8. So yeah,
No, no.
I was swimming and we shot hoops. My kids, we play horse like every day now. So my kids are all into basketball. So we're hooping and it was great. Kim cooked. It was fantastic. She crushed, made some amazing steaks. It was just a perfect day. And honestly, the funny thing is, and this is something that I don't know, it's either here or there. Is like if you guys use your iPhone to check the weather or whatever you guys use to check it, like it said it was gonna pour rain the last 2 days, and today like it literally couldn't have been more beautiful. It was like perfect out. There's a little bit of clouds, but like there's no rain at all, and it was hot, and it was like perfect. So I was like, oh, we're not gonna be able to do anything. And then I got outside, and I was like, it's like 80, it's like 85 degrees today, and there's no rain. So it was shout out to Columbus for having good weather today. So it was actually great. But I appreciate that, RJ. Thank you so much. And also thank you to all the dads. I hope you guys are enjoying your evening winding down. Josh Dillon, thanks for the 5. What's up, Scoop fam? Do y'all think that the team up north will have last season stripped from them too? Just an extra FU to the team up north for not cooperating. What say you on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I don't really see any grounds for losing the mighty 8-5 season from last year. Connor Stallions wasn't there. Yeah, I'm not sure, what rules. I'm sure they were breaking some. It's Michigan, so we know they were doing something nefarious and cheating. But no, I think 21 to 23 are all absolutely in play. But I think the mighty 24 season is safe for them. If they were smart, if they had an ounce of intelligence up there, they would have self-imposed last year. They would have self-imposed a bowl ban last year and maybe had that part of the thing behind him. Yeah, maybe. I still think it's gonna be multi-year, but they would at least had 50% of it, 33% of it, maybe 100% of it all behind them, getting rid of that. But instead, they went 8-5. Now they're going into another season where they're going to be mediocre. They've got that fat Underwood guy at quarterback. I just saw that they're bringing in another quarterback because Bryce is more likely to win the Nathan's hot dog eating contest than he is the Heisman Trophy. But I don't know what they're doing. They like they took a page from the Gene Smith thing and played the season instead of self-imposing. I think it was a horrible mistake. I think it's going to be something that's going to come back to bite them. But no, I think the season's safe for the record books. That 8-5 is probably going to hang around for a while.
Yeah, I agree. And like for the life of me, I'm like you, man. When the ship is sinking on a season and you have no real chance to do anything, like why would you not self-impose a bowl ban? And like because again, you guys have heard me bemoan the fact that in 2011 we said no, we're gonna play in this bowl game, and like I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my god, like I said, it's like an animal like with the body littered with cancer. It's like just shoot us. I was like, please just shoot us in the head and put us out of our misery, please, for the love of God. It's like, nope, we're going to Jacksonville, baby. And we're gonna go play versus the 6-6 Florida Gators, and it's gonna be awesome. And I'm like, oh my god, it just, like again, not every year is going to be your year. Now, with Ohio State, every year has been our year, but in general, there's going to be that downstroke year, and we've thankfully been able to avoid it. And with the transfer portal, I don't know if we're ever going to have a downstroke again because we can always recruit instant starters, basically overnight and backfill and go get a Josh Simmons or a Will Howard or a Quinn Sean or a Davis Enigmanos. I mean, it's almost hilarious how proficient we've been with the portal, but I don't know. I mean, I can't see them taking last year because Harbaugh was gone, Stallions was gone, and it's just such a lack. What are you going to take the Alabama Crocodile Bowl game that they won away, and the win against us where we screwed the pooch? I mean, I don't know. I can't see it with Stallions not being there along with Harbaugh, but it would be great, and I would laugh very hard. D Sunny, what's up, brother? I appreciate you, my dude. Thanks for the 5. If Orlando Pace was a recruit in 2025, how big would his recruitment be as big as any player we've had besides Terrell Pryor. Nevada, I'll let you go on that. I don't know if a tackle can go that big, but what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, Pace's recruitment, at the time was about as big as they can get. But there's obviously something different about a quarterback. There's something different about the number one player in the country. Um, I think the Terrell Pryor recruitment was unlike anything that we've ever seen before or since, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, the Big O, despite Kirk disparaging him, I still think the Big O was a good player at Ohio State, and a guy worthy of all the accolades and things like that. And it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, I think so many recruitments would be different because there's just so much coverage now. There's so much coverage and interviews. I mean, when Orlando did it, all there was Bill Kurylik on his phone and the 900 numbers. That's literally all that was the only person doing it. And now you've got 50 different Ohio State sites and hundreds of reporters and things like that. There's just so much more attention with social media. But yeah, it'd be interesting. But I don't think anything could touch Pryor. Pryor was a true national story every day, up to recruiting signing day, and then obviously beyond. So yeah, that was a big one.
I just kind of Googled Orlando's recruitment, and this is an interesting little anecdote. It says the '94 recruiting effort benefited with Larry Petrov as the coordinator, and then this sentence this shows how far we've come as a sport and with everything else. However, the NCAA was in the process of eliminating the recruiting coordinator position, at least for a person not on the full time assistant coaching staff. And you know what's funny is now that I think about it, is like we always used to have one of the coaches was always like the recruiting coordinator too. Like when I was there, John Peterson was also the recruiting coordinator on top of being the tight ends coach. So it was usually like the tight ends coach or the running backs coach or one of the easier positions. Like you're not going to make your line coach the recruiting coordinator or your receivers coach or somebody that's to coach multiple guys. But like John Peterson was our recruiting coordinator, which again, that's, it was more of a title. Greg Gillum did a lot of the day-to-day stuff. And then, Pantone showed up and was like, this is all you guys do. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just an intern. I'm just a GA. I don't get a lot of say in what we need to do. And Pantone about fell over and died when he saw how small our database was, how bad it was. It was just like, oh my God, he about died. But it was him and Derek Chain had a lot of work to do when they first showed up, and they were shocked. And like, he's like, where's your board at? And I was like, that's it. And he's like, you guys, that's all you guys break down? I was like, yep. I mean, I wish I could have worn like a GoPro for that year. Cause it was just like the amount of shock they said, oh my God. It was like we had like a horse and buggy and like the Florida Gators with the Pantone, they were in like a spaceship or something. This is so bad. I think Orlando obviously would be, he'd be similar to like maybe like a Laramie Tunsil. I mean, Laramie Tunsil is the best offensive tackle I've seen on value like high school tape and combines and that kind of stuff. Because the hard part for Orlando is like his stuff's all VHS, and I don't think there's a single video of him online playing high school. Maybe playing basketball or something, but there wasn't Huddle. Obviously, there wasn't Rivals. There wasn't Scout. There wasn't 247. Obviously, not On Three or any of those. So. But it would have been big. But tackle's a premium position, but it's not the ultra premium position of quarterback. So obviously Terrell's the biggest recruitment of all time, in my opinion. I mean he took longer, and it was Ohio State, Michigan, and Terrell was the consensus number one player. And there was no debate, no argument, no nothing. So I don't think we'll ever see a kid as big as Terrell. I'm not saying like I mean JJ, you can say JJ's is good, whatever, but in terms of the insanity of the commitment and the recruiting, like we'll never see anything like Terrell. But Orlando would be he'd be the number one player in his class, and he's the guy that came in and started as a true freshman and never gave up a sack, and obviously he went 3-and-out and was first overall pick. So I mean he had the best career in Ohio State history for my money, because he won, I don't know if it was 2 Lombardis and 1 Outland or 2 Outlands and 1 Lombardi. I think it was 2 Lombardis and 1 Outland. And, if you go 3-and-out and you're the number one pick in the draft, then that's like about as good as you can do. Again, JJ's got a shot, because if JJ wins 2 more Blitnikovs and then He's the number one pick in the draft. You know, if you're a 3-and-out guy and you go number one overall, about as good as you can do, especially as an offensive tackle. So yeah, I don't think that anyone's ever going to touch Terrell though, because that was a different level of insanity, and I unfortunately missed it because he recruited, or he committed. His first year was 08, and I was in the league, so that was good. D Sunny, thanks for the 10. I saw a known college football show had Julian Sayin's comp as JJ McCarthy. Is that why Nevada is such a believer in Sayin? I love the Nevada "are you effing kidding me" moments. Nevada, your thoughts? Julian Sayin, does he comp to JJ McCarthy? Because a known college football show said that, which is insane to me.
Yes, so stupid. So I mean, Julian Sayin is a classic Southern California drop back passer, yeah, and JJ McCarthy is a drop back, hand off the ball, and watch the running back run player. And I'm not even sure what JJ McCarthy's particular super skill is. You know, the yoga poses, or the handing off, or the running and jumping on the top of the pile in celebrations, or something like that. But no, those two could not be any more different. I mean, Julian saying, you know, I'm not saying he'll be as successful as JJ McCarthy was. I'm not saying he'll go as high in the draft as JJ McCarthy did, but they are completely different players. JJ McCarthy was run first. Everything with him was just kind of go back and scramble around and hand off and run or do whatever. I mean, he barely threw the ball down the field. I mean, Julian will push the ball down the field. I mean, he's a drop back gunslinger. I mean, he's Patrick Mahomes, and JJ McCarthy is, I don't even know who JJ McCarthy is. I'm not sure who is the comp. If you had to have a comp for JJ McCarthy in the NFL right now, who would it be? Will
Oh,
Levy or something like that? I mean, who would it be?
God, this is hard. I mean, I'd want to say someone like I hate it because he's a mentor kid, but like Mitch Trubisky or something, just because nobody
Yeah,
like.
that's good. That's a good.
I mean, because here's my thing. Like when Mitch Trubisky, when Ryan Pace from the Bears took him second overall and said he's the next Drew Brees, like, and I'm sitting there, and you know, Deshaun Watson, obviously before his 7,000 ACLs, and you know, and again, I didn't know how good Mahomes was. I'm just gonna be real, but I knew that I thought Deshaun Watson was really good. Now again, he's turned into a turd in Cleveland, but in Houston, he was a Pro Bowler. You know, so he got to Cleveland and just, you know, had the Cleveland curse and it's been terrible. But like, there's just certain guys that you just know are gonna bust. And like JJ, you know, I mean, JJ's got to throw to Addison and Hawkinson. I mean, he's got probably the best trio of skill guys in the league. You know, because I think Hawkinson is fantastic, but then you have Justin Jefferson and you've got Addison. So we're gonna find out real quick how good he is. Because again, I think that he's superbly overrated. I think that he's a guy that, you know, like Zach Wilson maybe, where you like, oh, he had a good pro day and whatever, and I'm just like, so that guy's gonna shoot up the ladder and be a top 10. I mean, Zach Wilson won 2 overall in the draft, and it was just like, that's gonna be your savior or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I think that, like, you know, when you come from a run first offense and you had Michigan had a good defense, they're cheating their balls off, then you're going to be proficient and you're going to take care of the ball, not make mistakes. And I'm like, is that what I really want for an NFL quarterback? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I need a guy that can go out and win games and can throw that thing. You know, the Joe Burrow, and you know, again, it's hard to find a Joe Burrow. Obviously, he should have been the MVP of the league last year, but I just, you know, sometimes, man, it's like you wonder what these general managers are thinking. Paxton Lynch, like some of these guys are just like, there's just no way he's going to be good in the NFL. And that's what, to me, that's what JJ is. And again, that's why they tried to re-sign Sam Darnold. I mean, it's like, you know, Darnold walked to Seattle and got a fortune, but yeah, I mean, you're going to find out, because again, you can't have a more, you know, favorable situation, because I mean, their quarterback is probably the best quarterback, or excuse me, their head coach is probably the best quarterback developer in the league, Kevin O'Connell, who was actually in my draft class. And then you've got a really good offensive line that they added Donnie Jackson to. They have a great left tackle. You play indoors. So, you know, again, 10-year games. at minimum are going to be in a dome, counting Detroit. You obviously got to go to Green Bay and Chicago, but I mean, I don't know what else you want. I mean, because Justin Jefferson can route up anybody, and Addison's not far behind it. And I think Hawkinson might be the best tight end in the league. Now, he had that bad knee injury, but when he came back, he was a monster. And if he's healthy, he's terrifying to go against. So I don't know. I just think that Julian Sayin to me is a classic throw. Like, Julian Sayin is Aaron Rodgers to me. Like, I think that's what his comp is. JJ McCarthy is like and again, don't kill me on this. He is like a broke, destitute, under the bridge, homeless person version of like Alex Smith on his best day, his absolute dream. Everything goes right best day. Now, Alex Smith made $300 million in the league. I mean, he made a lot of money, but like, that's the kind of guy that he is. He's a guy that on his very absolute best day, he's a guy that you're like, man, we need to replace him. And that's why Andy Reid went out and drafted Mahomes when he had Alex Smith under contract. And that's his absolute ceiling is a very poor man's Alex Smith, in my opinion. Nevada, anything to add before we go to our next super chat?
No, I think it's a good comp. I think it's a very generous comp there in terms of Alex Smith, but it's going to be fun watching him struggle this year, because that's one thing I always look for is storylines. Like, I'll be able to root for the Steelers this year because they got a lot of Buckeyes and Aaron Rodgers on them. And obviously, I root for the Browns, I root for the Packers, and I get to root against the Vikings really hard every time they're playing. So it's I can't wait for the NFL.
I mean, how high have the Steelers surged in your rankings in the last month that they had Will Howard and Aaron Rodgers and Jack Sawyer in the same
Eh,
2 month span?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's I'm pretty excited, and I'm telling you, Will Howard is meeting with rave reviews. They love Will Howard in Pittsburgh, love him, and everything we were saying, we're like, we don't understand why this guy's not getting more love. They're asking the same questions. They're like, I don't know how we ended up with this guy, but they feel like they got a gem, so I'm really excited for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, and I'm not gonna divert too much, but it's kind of like Shador. Like, I mean, Shador's shredding it with the Browns right now in minicamp, and again, I don't know how these guys evaluate quarterbacks. I think Shador and Will Howard are going to be the two steals of the draft. I mean, those guys go in the 5th and 6th round, man. That's wild, especially when with Will, especially, he has no expectations of playing this year, so he can sit behind Rodgers and Rudolph, and then he gets to sit next to Aaron Rodgers in a meeting room, which I think, when you get a guy who is a stone cold pro and first ballot Hall of Famer, and you're open to listening, like will be like, and you have Aaron yell at you after every play. Like, I think it's kind of like what happened last year, where I'm sure Will Howard was mentoring Julian and Aaron Nolan and all the guys that were in that room watching how Will prepped and did his work, because you don't understand how valuable it is when you have great veterans to look to, and to study and see how they do stuff. Like, I mean, I used to watch AJ Hawk and how he'd work out in the gym. I mean, AJ Hawk, it was always funny because, we had 2 days. Like, we had really tough practices, and just because Tress looks like Mr. Rogers doesn't mean he didn't put the screws to us in training camp. We had doubles and pads, and it was tough. And again, I'm not crying the blues. That's just what it took to become a good team. But, AJ and Bobby and Schleggs, they were the last guys to dinner every single night. When we'd have to walk to the faucet across the street from the Woody, and they're the last 3 guys there at a time. And I'd be like, what the hell are they? Like, we've been done eating for 30 minutes and they're just getting to dinner or done for 40 minutes. And like, those guys would lift for 30 minutes after a 2-a-day. And I'm not talking about some, crazy, they're not doing like the Murph or something, like some crazy workout. But I mean, they'd pick a body part, they'd pick back or shoulders or, a little bit of chest, and they would lift, and they'd be the last 3 guys to dinner every night. And I was like, I was like, I'm gonna start doing that. So like, I started lifting after practice, and it was a huge advantage. Me and Doug Dadish would lift after practice together, and not everybody wants to do that when you feel like you've been in a car wreck, but those little incremental antidotes, they add up. So again, when you've got guys that are like AJ Hawk was the ringleader of it all, I mean, you got to follow the guys that are great. There's a reason why they're great. They don't just roll out of the rack great. They put in a lot of extra work that a lot of people just aren't willing to do. And I think that's something that Will Howard's going to see with Aaron Rodgers. And I think that Julian Sayin will have that kind of same effect from what he learned from Will last year. So, Micah Corey, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Happy Father's Day to all. Prayers to all those who are struggling or celebrating through memories. KB in Nevadabuck, thanks for standing in the gap for those kids who needed support, teaching and manhood during those days around various teams. That's very sweet of you. Nevada OH. That is very sweet of you because, again, Nevada and I both share the fact that our fathers are gone. Mine died in 97 when I was a 12-year-old. He was 39, which is still weird for me to say out loud because I'm older than my dad was when he died. I mean, he died at 39. I'm 40 now, so it's a little different, and it is sad. So, again, all of you that don't have your fathers anymore and wish you could wish them a happy Father's Day, you have our empathy because it does suck and it does hurt because, again, it's always nice to call. Like I called my mom today, even though it's not Father's Day, and talked to her for 20 minutes, and she's wearing her Scoop gear, which was great because she bought the national championship shirt and she wants more of it. So we're gonna reopen the store in probably 2 weeks because I've had so many people say that they missed out, and I'm getting my hoodie should be here tomorrow, and I can't wait to wear it. I'm gonna wear it on the show, and I know when I do that, everybody's gonna want it because it looks really nice. My mom was wearing it around today, and she bought it. She always says, "What do you want for your birthday? Or what do you want for Christmas?" I said, "Buy some stuff from our store." I mean, that's the best thing you do, support what we do, what Nevada and I do, and the rest of our staff and the Scoop family. But you guys have my empathy that don't have your fathers. And again, I know some of you guys might be away from your kids. Again, I've got teammates that I talk to that they don't have great situations with their ex-wives or whatever. So you guys, if you any situation, and you guys have our empathy. Nevada, anything you'd like to add to that?
Oh, just a little anecdote. I remember talking to one of my partners in a previous life, and this guy was wildly successful. I mean, wildly successful guy. And we're sitting over lunch, and he's like, it's funny, Nevada. I'm still seeking the approval of my dad, even though I've achieved all this stuff in my life, and my dad's been dead for 25 years. And kind of the point of it was, hey, at some point, if people have passed on and you didn't get the good doggies, or you didn't get the type of affirmation that you needed or wanted or desired from them, you gotta let it go, and then you gotta kind of pass it on and don't make the same mistakes with your kids in terms of doing it. And that always stayed with me because I always looked at this guy as like, this guy owns major league teams and 36 acres in Bel Air, and I mean, it's like wild, your private planes, and he's still looking for his dad to tell him that he did good. And it was kind of sad, but poignant, and always a good reminder to hug your kids and tell them that you're proud of them. And that's always a good thing to do as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great story and a great anecdote. Because I don't wait around to tell people I love them. I don't wait around to thank you guys for being on the show and being excited to see like Beth and Karis and Steely and everybody at our meetups. And like I don't wait because again, no one's promised tomorrow, so you better enjoy your life and make the most of it and care about the people that you want to care about. Because again, like there's some people that they live in this dark, hateful, crappy existence, and like I ain't doing that, man. I love everything about what I do in my life and what we do with Buckeye Scoop and what we've made this podcast into. I mean, Nevada and I, it's like I mean, it's 7 o'clock, man. We ain't going out to dinner with the wives. We're getting it in. We're gonna get a good show in. We're gonna work hard. You have a good work day, and we're proud of that. Because again, like you look around, like it's crickets around the rest of the Ohio State beat because I don't know. Maybe they just don't want to do it. But we feel this duty where we want to put out good content, and it's important to us. And again, it's something that you guys can tell that we care, and we show up and we get it in. And when you guys meet us, like it's the same thing. Like I get so excited to meet everybody and say hi to everybody, and I'm so proud of this merchandise drop was crazy. And it's a nice amount to pay it forward. Which again, if you guys are veterans, and again, I want to say this real quick: if you guys are veterans, police officers, firefighters, and you guys are working tonight or you guys are deployed, we're thinking about you. If you can't be with your family on Father's Day, again, like I never stop thanking the police officers and the fire departments because again, it's the world's crazy right now, and there's some scary stuff going on. So again, I just appreciate all you guys that are working when some people get to be home. So and we couldn't probably be home if it wasn't for some of you guys, especially our military folks. So we appreciate you guys so much. But yeah, like I said, we're just grateful. And that's something that we'll never get tired of saying. Mark Bundy, thanks for the deuce, and thank you for being an Ultra member as well. Appreciate you, my friend. He says, I'm excited for the next few years of recruiting. Nevada, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, we just keep getting better and better at it, and I agree. I'm excited for recruiting. I'm certainly excited about the 25 season. I've already told you guys many times I'm excited for the 26 season because I know what we got coming back for that year and experience at key spots. JJ Smith in his third year, which is absolutely terrifying to think about. But yeah, no, I mean the future is bright for Ohio State football, and not every team can say that. Not nobody's gone through a more sustained period of success than Ohio State, and the future is and the future runway looks long and prosperous for Ohio State fans. So yeah, very good times to be excited about.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I agree with you, Mark, about being excited for the next few years of recruiting. And again, I appreciate you being an Ultra member. But when we've got it as dialed in as we do right now, it's terrifying. I mean, like Columbus is becoming an epicenter of tech. It's exploding. It's a great city to live in. The faith thing is it keeps coming up with these recruits. Excuse me. That was a big part of our team last year, and the whole world watched us win a title. And our guys are very proud of what they're doing faith wise, which I think is great. Highest APR in history, tied with Harvard. Literally a perfect APR, which is the academic progress rate. Um, you know, Tied the NFL record for most draft picks, won a national championship. Our coach got a 7-year extension. It's like I don't know what else we could do. I mean, short of if we build a new football building, and once we do that, I don't even know what we're gonna do. There won't be anything left to fix. But I mean, our football building, it's fine. Again, like we got dumbbells and plates and projectors and a cold tub, so it will be okay. Again, it doesn't have to be. Not everything has to be the Taj Mahal, but it will be shortly. Because I know Ross Bjork in short order is working to raise 120 million, and some of these big dogs are striking $5 million checks towards the new Woody Hayes. So that'll be exciting. So again, Ross is a dynamic fundraiser, and I've said to you guys, if you're the athletic director, your number one job is to raise money. That's it. It's not to go to the cross country meet. It's not to go do off the field stuff. It's to talk to these big donors and say, hey, you want to help us out? We're trying to prolong this, and we name this wing of the building after you, whatever. And people are excited to do that. They need tax deductions, and it's a great thing to give to is the new Woody Hayes. And for any of you guys that are in that situation to donate, make sure that you write on your donation slip. If you do it online or if you do it via, I'm sure most of you guys would do it through a development officer. Make sure you write that it goes to the Woody Hayes, because if you don't, it'll go elsewhere. And I've had that happen multiple times with people that have given 7-figure donations that they thought was going to football. If you don't specify that it must go to football, it will go elsewhere. And that was a Gene Smith joint, and it was something that was not good. But it is what it is. Again, I appreciate all you guys that are on the show, and I know a lot of you guys love to help the program out and to make sure it goes to football. Because again, I love those guys, and they deserve a new building. And I mean, Gene's been there for 20 years, and we never got a new building, which is insane. All right. Karis and Beth, hope you guys are doing great. Thanks for the 5. Says, my son is struggling today. Died 97 as well. So we will cherish every moment. Well, I hope that your son can do the best he can. It's interesting. If I assume that you wrote that his dad died in 97, same year my dad died. So yeah, it is rough, especially when, I mean, hell, it's 28 years, and it's a long time to be going solo. But yeah, I cherish every moment. I know you do too, Nevada. Any thoughts to add to that for Beth and Karis?
No, just yeah, no prayers with him, and hope he makes it through the day. And yeah, just like I said, we can't change the stuff from the past, but we can make the better, the future better. And we can, I always like to think, because my dad was a great guy, but he's a flawed guy, just like my mom was a terrific mom, but flawed. And I'm trying to be a better version. And I always tell my kids, I want them to be better than I am. I want them to be, because I'm flawed. And so I want them to be a better version for me. So, you know, try to pay it forward and try to make people, learn from the mistakes of the things that have gone by, and look, fondly back on the memories, and just try to make the future better. That's all you can do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Continuous improvement, man. Something you can always stress upon your kids, especially when they have more than you did growing up. It's easy to ask a lot of them when they've got maybe a better circumstance than you came up in. Carl Price, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. When the team up north loses 15 to 20 games when the NCAA ruling comes down, will they get to celebrate hitting 1,000 wins again in 4 to 5 years? Nevada, that's pretty funny. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that's very, very possible. That's why these vacation of wins, yeah, they have significance on their all-time record. They have significance on the record against Ohio State, and they have significance on the Big Ten titles and potentially a national title in 2023. So the NCAA's got a lot to consider as they go through these unprecedented penalties. But yeah, I would, if you asked me, gun to my head, will they be celebrating another thousandth victory in the future? I'm going to say yes, they will, because they're going to be vacating some wins from the past, and so there we go.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's gonna be wonderful to see them go back under there and see us race past them and get to 1,000 before they do, because that's what's gonna happen. So, all right, Nevada, nice show tonight. Almost 70 minutes. Any final thoughts as we wrap this thing up?
Nope, just on our way to 40,000 subscribers. So if you're listening to the show and you're like, wow, that was fun, I enjoyed that show, hit the subscribe button. Free, hit the subscribe, send it to your friends. That's the best way to expand the show. You all got contacts, relatives, friends, family members, like-minded Ohio State fans. Send it to them and say, hey, subscribe to the show, try it out. You might enjoy it, but really helps us out. We're moving to 40,000. We're going to get there, and we're going to have a big party when we do. So thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we'll do our next scoop meetup when we hit 40,000. So you guys tweet it, put it on your Facebook page, put it everywhere. Any Facebook groups you're in that are Ohio State centric, spread the word. As always, I appreciate you guys. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell, and also give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. That's something that we've been growing as well. It's right inside your iPhone. Go to the podcast app, search Buckeye Scoop, and then leave us a 5-star review so you can help kill the trolls, because the trolls, they love. We have all of our, like 90% of our reviews are 5 stars and like 10% are 1 stars from the idiots. So again, combat that, and we appreciate you guys that are doing that. So hope you guys had a great Father's Day. I had a wonderful day with the kiddos and Kim. It was a great day, but I hope you guys had a great day as well. And I'm also thinking about all of you that have lost your fathers, or you have a reason why you could not be with your kids. We're thinking about you, especially our deployed military. They are the patriots. They are the ones that keep this thing going at home, along with our police officers, our firefighters, our first responders. Thank you guys for all that you guys do that are working tonight. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 7:10. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Enjoy your Father's Day, and happy Father's Day. Go Bucks.